Kirk Cousins is expected to sign with the Minnesota Vikings. So now, what do the Jets do at the quarterback position? Find out next. What's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today's topic is going to be Kirk Cousins as the domino finally looks to have fallen and we get an idea where he's going to go, and it looks like the Minnesota Vikings are going to land Kirk Cousins. But before we get started, I want to remind you to follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So now that the domino, like I said, has fallen to Minnesota and all signs are pointing to Kirk Cousins going to the Vikings on a 3-year, $28 million deal, fully guaranteed, what do the Jets do? That seemed to be this regime's plan A, and now they have to come up with something completely different. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about Kirk Cousins and what the Vikings are getting from their new quarterback. Last year, he had a 64.3 completion percentage. He threw for 27 touchdowns and just 13 interceptions. He had 7.6 yards per attempt, a 93.9 quarterback rating, and he threw for over 4,000 yards for the third year in a row. Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback. He's not great, he's good. And paying a good quarterback almost $30 million a year, I don't know if I was sold on it completely. I know if you watch my other videos, I talked about my plan A being going and drafting a quarterback rather than signing Kirk Cousins. And as I find out what the contract looks like, I'm more confident in my plan rather than giving Kirk Cousins a deal. Because even if it's you just have him for 3 years, you're going to have to do this whole quarterback search process all over again. That's why I thought Minnesota or Denver was a better fit for Kirk Cousins to begin with than the New York Jets, because they're in a better position to open up a 3-year window to try and win, where the Jets need a little bit of a complete rebuild process and not a quick fix like Kirk Cousins would be. Again, I think this makes the Vikings favorite in the NFC. Clearly, they play in a division with Aaron Rodgers, so it's going to be difficult, but they are a contender. They are a contender in the NFC. The NFC, like I said, is a good conference, but this puts them over the top. He is an upgrade over Case Keenum or whoever else they were going to put out there, whether it be Sam Bradford or Teddy Bridgewater. But now, what do the Jets do? For me, I think the thing that makes the most sense is getting Baker Mayfield. Why? Because I still think Darnold goes 1, and I think that Rosen is the next quarterback taken after that. Whether it's the Giants taking him or whether it's Buffalo trading up and getting in the mix, that's scary. So I don't want to take the risk of sitting behind potentially Buffalo and definitely Denver, who I still think is in the market for a quarterback, even though they just signed Case Keenum. You got to move up if you have to, and it looks like the Jets are going to have to. Mike McCagnon, you got to do whatever you possible to move up and get your guy. And for me, I think Baker's the guy. Here's why. Last year, he threw for over 4,600 yards. He had a 70.5 completion percentage, 11.5 yards per attempt, 43 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions, and had a 198.9 quarterback rating. He had a very good year for Oklahoma. He really has ever since he transferred from Texas Tech. I really started to follow him more closely this year as he was heading towards the draft, and he won the Heisman this year. I think he could be a Russell Wilson-like quarterback, and I think that's a fair comparison. He's undersized like Russell is. Russell's 5'11", where a Baker is 6'1", so he has a slight advantage there, but he has the leadership quality. He has the clutch factor. I know some are going to get on him for maturity, but I think it's worth the risk. I really like what this guy could bring to the table, especially with this Jets kind of offense. They have 3 pretty good receivers in Curse, Anderson, and Enunwa, and Powell, McGuire, and potentially adding another running back in the mix, whether it's the draft or free agency. I think the Jets could have a pretty solid offense and run that RPO-style offense with Baker Mayfield in it. And I think that's the way the league is going. You look at what the Eagles did this year, and they had a lot of success with the RPO, and I think the Jets can run a successful kind of offense with that, with Baker Mayfield at the helm. Like I said, if you got to trade up and get him, go do it. You got to land a franchise quarterback. That's Mike McCagnon's last thing that he has to do, is land that. If he doesn't, he's gone. And for me, 3 years of Kirk Cousins versus potentially 10 to 15 years of a guy like Baker Mayfield or Rosen, or pretty much just anyone who's not named Josh Allen, seems like a lot better option to me. So I'm not sitting here crying today, as it looks like the Vikings landed their new quarterback. I, for one, am okay right now. I'm a little nervous that the Jets haven't done much just yet, but I'm willing to be a little bit patient. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Matt O'Leary NY. I hope you enjoyed today's video. We'll see you next time.